Thank you for joining us for CBN NewsWatch. I'm Efrem Graham. Ahead today, Israel warning it may launch more strikes against Iran in the future, and that could include attacks on Iran's nuclear program. While the head of Iran's Islamic Revolutionary Guard promises Israel bitter consequences that will be unimaginable for its attack on Iran. And Israel banning the United Nations Relief and Works Agency from operating inside the Jewish state, amid claims many of its staff still have ties to terrorists. Here at home, we're going to take you to a key battleground county in a key battleground state, Michigan, to see how the presidential race is shaping up 1 week before Election Day. And many people think Halloween is a harmless holiday. We're going to hear from someone with firsthand experience about the dangers of the occult. All those stories and more ahead today, right here on CBN NewsWatch.
This is CBN NewsWatch.
We begin this half hour in the Middle East, where just days after Israel hit key military infrastructure sites inside Iran, Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu is warning more strikes may be on the way. As Chris Mitchell reports from Jerusalem, Iran is also considering retaliation against the Jewish state.
Speaking to the Knesset, Israeli Prime Minister Netanyahu vowed to prevent Iran from getting nuclear weapons. He stated, "Stopping the Iranian nuclear program is at the forefront of our minds." Netanyahu says Israel proved it can target Iran's nuclear facilities after Israeli jets easily wiped out Iran's ballistic missile production.
These are industrial death factories on an industrial scale, and we dealt them with a real blow.
In last weekend's attack on Iran, Israel avoided bombing the Islamic regime's nuclear facilities, but their ambassador to the United Nations says that may not be the case next time.
To Iran's leaders, take this as a warning. Israel has shown restraint, but from here on, you will see only strength. Any further aggression will be met with consequences that are swift, painful, and decisive.
Meanwhile, Iran threatens to retaliate.
We will use all tools available for a decisive and effective response to the Zionist regime's aggression.
If that happens, the U.S. is pledging to defend Israel from the Islamic regime.
Today, the United States' message for Israel remains clear. We will always help secure its people and territory from Iran and its terrorist proxies and partners.
Also at the Knesset Monday, the members passed laws barring the United Nations Relief and Works Agency, UNRWA, from operating in Israel. UNRWA is one of the world's main providers of aid and education to Palestinians. But Israel has presented evidence some UNRWA employees took part in the October 7th atrocities and claims hundreds of its staff still have ties to terrorists.
UNRWA, as an organization, is infected with terrorism. Not a few bad apples, as UNRWA employees like to make out. UNRWA simply must be replaced. That is the view of the Israeli government and the overwhelming majority of Israel's people. They must be replaced with other organizations that are not infected with terrorism.
Chris Mitchell joins us now from Jerusalem. Chris, Iran is talking about using all of its tools available and being creative in its response to Israel's strike from the weekend. Does the Israeli government believe Iran might try an unconventional response rather than another missile barrage?
Well, that's possible, Efrem. They've tried two missile barrages, one on April 13th, the other on October 1st, and both really didn't do much damage, if any, here, very minimal damage here in Israel. They could try cyber warfare. That's one possibility, but Iran probably does that on a regular basis. Another unconventional weapon, could it be an EMP weapon to cripple Israel's electronic systems? Also uncertain if Iran has that capability. Certainly terrorist attacks would be one unconventional way to hit either Jews worldwide or here in Israel. Chemical and biological weapons, still uncertain they would even use those. And then nuclear weapons, but that's really going to be the target of we think, Israel's next strike. It really is kind of exposing Iran's limited toolbox. Now, Israeli Defense Minister Yoav Gallant said Israel's really changing the balance of power in the Middle East with Saturday's precision strikes. Iran is not only weakened to both respond, but also protect itself.
Israel seems to be openly talking about striking Iran's nuclear facilities at some point. Is that on the table?
It is. In fact, I think this is the next thing on the table. They're talking about it quite openly, and many believe it's really, Ephraim, the right opportunity to strike. They've already eliminated much of Iran's air defenses, so the IAF has freedom over the skies over Iran, and that's exactly what Israel is looking for, this freedom of the skies. And after 2 Iranian attacks, they have the justification to attack, and the nuclear sites, they really pose a threat to Israel's existence. And this could be the timing as well before Iran does get a nuclear weapon. And in terms of timing as well, Ephraim, a lot of people here are thinking they'll wait till the U.S. election 1 week away, which will have a profound impact one way or the other, how Israel responds to Iran, and it's going to affect the whole Middle East.
Chris, many countries are upset about Israel's decision to ban the United Nations Relief and Works Agency from operating inside Israel. How would the Israeli government respond to that criticism, and why did they think the ban was necessary?
Well, I think, Ephraim, after more than a year of exposing UNRWA's connection to Hamas over and over again, it seems Israel is really less concerned about what the world thinks and more concerned about the threat UNRWA represents to the state of Israel. Now, this legislation could close down UNRWA facilities here in Israel and actually in Jerusalem as well in 90 days. So they have the permission, or they have the justification to go ahead and close the operations in the country. UNRWA, for years, and we've reported on that many times, really teaches elimination of the Jewish state. It's indoctrinated several generations that they have the right to return to Israel and really take over the Jewish state. The U.S. is objecting. Anthony Blinken, Secretary of State, he wrote Israel that they want to improve the humanitarian aid to Gaza, or they could risk Israel could risk limited military assistance. But what happens, Ephraim, is that that aid that goes in, the UNRWA coordinates some of that aid, but Hamas also often steals it. Some of the other reaction is that the EU is gravely concerned. The UK says it's totally wrong. But over time, they've seen numerous examples of UNRWA employees also being part of Hamas.
Let's turn now to the fighting between Israel and Hezbollah. What's the latest there?
Well, continued strikes daily, Ephraim, on Hezbollah infrastructure in Tyre, which is right on the Mediterranean coast. That was another strike over by the IDF. They told the residents to leave large parts of that city. They had messages in Arabic. We don't want to harm you. Leave immediately. So they're destroying weapons depots, observation posts. Tyre itself is a major Hezbollah stronghold, but also making very big strides in southern Lebanon and uncovering many tunnel complexes and weapons and destroying them.
Now, Hezbollah has chosen a new leader. Can you tell us who that is and what you know about him?
Well, his name is Naim Qassam. He served as a deputy secretary general for more than 3 decades. He's been with Hezbollah since its inception in 1982. He's been the leading spokesman for Hezbollah. And even after the elimination of Hassan Nasrallah and most of the top leadership of Hezbollah, he said that Hezbollah is steadfast and will emerge victorious. However, Ephraim, he's not in Beirut. And the reason for that, he's in Tehran, because there's fears that Israel would assassinate him. The IDF has made just over and over, eliminating Hezbollah's, not only the leadership, but then the replacements as well.
Let's look ahead before you go to Jerusalem Dateline. What can we expect?
Well, we have updates on what's happening in the north and Iran. In the south is Gaza as well. We have an interview with Bill Koenig. He's the head of Watch.org. He's been following what's going on in Israel and around the world. We also have an Iranian believer explaining what's happening inside Iran, not only with the regime and how many people object to the regime, but also what's happening in the church. We have an exclusive interview with George Thomas and Reza Pahlavi, the Crown Prince of Iran. And also we have a story about how CBN Israel, who's been doing so many things through the beginning of the war, is helping an Israeli family in need. So we'll have all those interview stories on today's Jerusalem Dateline.
All right, look forward to that. Our CBN News Middle East Bureau Chief Chris Mitchell, thank you so much as always. Know that we here continue to pray for you and our team on the ground there. I want to remind you at home, you can see the latest from Jerusalem Dateline this evening on the CBN News channel. It's going to begin at 8 o'clock Eastern. You can also watch it on the CBN News app or tune into YouTube. Coming up, the fight for votes in the key swing state of Michigan in this election year. We're going to bring you a look at how the race is shaping up in that key battleground county there. Stay with us. You're watching CBN NewsWatch.
This election night, with a country divided and America's future hanging in the balance, go to a place you can trust. CBN News. CBN News presents an election night special with live coverage. Get live updates on each of the campaigns, plus reliable analysis on the shifting balance of power. Watch the CBN News Election Night Special, Tuesday night, November 5th, beginning at 8 on the CBN News channel.
Well, we're now exactly 1 week until Election Day, but many voters are not waiting. So far, 47 million early votes have been cast in 43 states and the District of Columbia. And early voting is smashing expectations and local records. In the important swing state of Michigan, the presidential race there could come down to just a few hundred votes in key counties. CBN's John Jessup brings us this report from what could be the most important one, Saginaw County.
If Michigan ever questioned its place in presidential politics, the 2024 campaign puts any doubt to rest.
Thank you very much. Hello, Michigan. I love to be in Michigan.
Thank you. It's good to be with you guys. As the election winds down, candidates are making frequent stops here with multiple visits to Saginaw County, about 100 miles northwest of Detroit.
Michigan's swing counties pretty much remained in the Trump column from 2016 to 2020. All but one. Saginaw was the lone county that flipped for Joe Biden, and both parties have been spending a lot of time and money trying to win it again in 2024.
I don't know about all of Michigan, but Trump will win Saginaw County like he did in 2016.
That bold prediction made by a former Obama supporter who now leads the GOP effort here. He's basing that on record donations, increased volunteers, and crossover voters traditionally aligned with Democrats.
Now here we are in the 2024 campaign. I got UAW for Trump T-shirts. People that work in those organizations are saying, I am tired of being silent.
And it's not just unions. Democrats face a mass defection from Michigan's large Arab population over the war in Gaza. A heightened concern after the Muslim mayor of a Detroit suburb recently endorsed Donald Trump.
How cool is that? I know, it was really cool.
Eileen Pettinger, a retired firefighter turned party chair, tells CBN News Saginaw Democrats are also energized and believe any gap from the union or Arab voters will be filled by non-traditional supporters.
I have never seen Republicans and independents come into our office saying they can't vote for that man, that they want to donate, they want to volunteer, they want to door knock.
Political science professor Stuart French believes it'll be a tight race due to the issues residents here face, like declines in population and manufacturing.
So we usually are on the bad side of whatever statistic there is for the state. Anybody worth their weight is going to look at Saginaw County and go, this is an important county.
While pundits and pollsters predict the race here to be very close, both county party leaders told me they suspect their side might actually surprise everyone with a blowout, hoping picturesque Saginaw County will not only be a bellwether for the state, but for the nation as well.
We talked to voters on the first day of statewide early voting, which also includes a contested Senate race, which will factor into the chamber's balance of power. We found a range of viewpoints across the ideological spectrum about the candidates, the issues, down to voter integrity.
We usually do absentee, but I wanted to make sure it counted.
I want to make sure my voice is heard.
Trump just displays peace through strength.
And was there an overarching issue for you?
Women's rights.
As we were leaving the polling site, we captured a moment that defies the bitter division of this campaign cycle. perfect strangers, prioritizing the needs of others even before casting their ballot.
She's, limping and so in pain, and so, we're all Team Jesus.
I was out today campaigning, actually, and I fell and hurt myself, and when they offered, I'm like, yeah, I'll take prayer.
That's a moment.
That he's everywhere, and he's for us. He loves us, and he cares about our healing.
Even at an election polling site.
He never stops working.
A powerful example of turning faith into action and putting people before politics. John Jessup, CBN News, Saginaw County, Michigan.
For many, Halloween is just a harmless holiday, but we're going to hear from someone who knows the dangers of the occult firsthand. The story's coming up right after this. British-born media personality and educator Dr. Alan Campbell grew up with an alcoholic father and a mother steeped in the occult. But as seen on this week's episode of The Prayer Link, now he shares how he defied the odds and helps others to escape the darkness and despair. Take a look.
Your mother was it spiritualism?
Yeah, two terms are used. In Britain, we use the term spiritualism. In the States, it's more likely to be used the term spiritism. Yeah. But they're essentially the same thing. It's what's known as necromancy. It's communication with the dead intentionally. And my mother, if you had asked her, would have probably self-described as a Christian, but a very lukewarm Christian at that. She was also very much into Unitarianism. But I had multiple generations of family members involved with spiritualism, which is communicating with the dead to gain access to either concealed or hidden information or to be privy to the unknown and seek guidance.
So growing up, did you know early on this was unusual, something was wrong, peculiar, or just it was kind of natural?
No, it wasn't natural, innately, and I don't know why. I can't attribute it to anything other than God's provision. But I just sensed as a child that it was deleterious, dangerous, and not right. My mother would take Scrabble letters and place them on a table and then use an inverted shot glass and then have my sister hold the hand mutually between the two of them. Very much like, if you will, a primitive Ouija board. And the glass would begin to move and they would ask questions to entities.
Would it frighten you?
Would come. Yes, I did not like it. I didn't have the wherewithal at the age of 4 and 5 and 6 to say, Mummy, don't do that. I did later, and she would just pass it off and say, it's all right, Alan, it's all right, don't worry. We're having friends guide us. I'm like, well, really?
What was she looking for?
Very important. Every day, 9,000 people die in the United States. Terry Newsom, for instance, just has had a 1-year anniversary of the loss of her beloved husband. Gordon Robertson has lost his dad and his mother, Dee Dee, and a sister-in-law. Every day, people die. And when somebody dies, there's concentric circles of influence that go out. Now, think about just one person dying. I went to a funeral last week, and one person died, but there were hundreds of people involved. When people lose somebody significant, they want continuous communication. And one of the aspects of dealing with spiritualism, which is so insidious, is it capitalizes on people who are grieving. Now, obviously, with the likes of Terry Newsom, with the like of Gordon, this is not going to be an issue. But there are some, if you will, philandering spiritually Christians who would declare themselves Christian who are involved with this. The problem is, Andrew, that you can't have Jesus and a lot of people think that.
So some Christians try and add on, in a sense.
Yeah. Jesus and I Ching, Jesus and Ouija boards, Jesus and horoscopes and astrology. We are told in the Gospels and in the Old Testament that God is a jealous God. He's jealous. If people do not understand what we believe, they would say, what a primitive God you follow. Oh, what a primitive God. Jealous? Why would you be jealous? They confuse the word jealous with envy. God is not envious, but he is jealous. I'm quite sure if your wife was to pay attention to, well, another gentleman, that you might feel jealous.
Perhaps I would, yes, I would think so.
Why? Because you're in love with her, and you care for her, and you feel that you have a right to have her devotion and her attention. God feels precisely the same way. For everyone watching right now, he loves them greatly, intensely. So he doesn't want them fraternizing with lesser spirits. And those lesser spirits, incidentally, are demonic, as Jen said in the package that we just saw. They're completely demonic. and they put on the facade of being a deceased loved one because they can assimilate these roles very, very easily.
I've never heard that before, that that's the strategy, so to speak.
Yes, yeah. Imagine that you were a demon out of body. And we know that demons exist. I mean, at one point, Jesus is requested by them to be sent into animals going off the edge of a cliff. They want embodiment. They don't have embodiment. They want it. So when you go and activate and work with a Ouija board or whatever, you're opening yourself up to that. Sometimes it involves what's called psychometry or automatic writing. Your body, our bodies, should not be accessible to demons.
You can hear more from Dr. Alan Campbell and get more spiritually uplifting information on this week's prayer link. It is on the CBN News channel. It begins on Wednesday at 2:30 Eastern. You can also catch it on the CBN News app or on YouTube. We'll be right back with an encouraging word for your Tuesday. Stay with us. You're watching CBN NewsWatch.
Get your daily quick start from CBN News. A quick read on the important news of the day delivered right to your inbox. Stay current on breaking news, politics, and entertainment. Go to quickstart.news and subscribe today.
Time for your Tuesday Tweetable. This is a message I pray blesses you, and you will be moved to post tag, tweet, and share it with those in your circles of influence. Don't be so moved by the person who walks away from you, and don't lose hope because you arrive at a door that is closed. It is not personal, it's actually protection. If they left, they probably weren't meant to stay. If the door is closed, another will certainly open. God wants to protect you from what's not perfectly designed for you. He is your master, He is your creator. Well, that will do it for this edition of CBN NewsWatch. I want to remind you, you can always find more of our news programs on the CBN News channel. You can find them there at any time, as well as online at cbnnews.com. Take a moment. Let us know what you think about the stories you've seen here today or any day. You can email us, newswatch@cbn.com. You can also reach out and touch us on Facebook, Instagram, and X, formerly known as Twitter. We'll see you back here tomorrow. Goodbye. God bless.